You spend a lot of time around the Jets, Mike. You know a lot of people there. It's been an unusual quarterback situation for them throughout the course of the season because Zach Wilson just, what do we had, about 20 months ago, taken number 2 overall in the NFL draft, one pick after the guy he's going against tonight in Trevor Lawrence. He's benched. He's put on the side, going through mechanical stuff. He's not even active for a few weeks there. Now only gets the opportunity, and this is for the second straight week, to play again because Mike White has several fractured ribs. Where do the Jets stand right now on Zach Wilson, not just in terms of him potentially in any decision, if there even is one, about keeping the job when White is healthy, but also about the big picture and where you go in 2023?
Yeah, I think they're of the reality that there's really nothing he's going to do down the stretch here that's going to allay all fears and say, okay, this is our guy going forward. He's back. He figured it all out. Like, it's too tight of a time frame. So I think what you need to see is, and you started to see it last week, there were a couple of plays, what I call pro day throws, right? The kind of throws that he was making leading up to the draft in his workout to get teams to be excited about. And what happened this year particularly, and even leading up to this year, was he was paralyzed by something mentally, whatever it was. We even heard back in the spring about how he's got the yips, and you didn't see any of that. It's like, okay, if you're going to play poorly, at least put the skill on display and try to make those sensational throws that made you worthy of the number 2 overall pick in the draft. And you weren't seeing that. So you're making mistakes, and we're not seeing the skill on display. It's like there's a lot to work on with him as far as getting him back mentally. And that was the thought process to benching him was let him be inactive because the inactive guy is going to run our scout team. So let him run our scout team against our top defense, which we know what they've got up front. And now let him feel that in practice, like it's breaking down, and still try to make things work and do the best you can while the play is breaking down. Develop some pocket presence, because in BYU, he didn't have to deal with that. They were so good on their offensive line. They had grown men, because of their mission. They've got guys that are way older than some of these other guys they were going against. And so their offensive line, when he was there, was dominant, and he didn't have to deal with a lot of that. So now he's having to learn that, and it's tough to learn that during the process. So I'll be curious to see which way it goes in the offseason. I don't see anything that's going to change it in regard to, again, him being the unquestioned guy in the Jets hierarchy of quarterbacks, but he can at least thrust himself back into the conversation. He'll probably have to, at the very least, he's going to have to stave off Mike White in an offseason quarterback competition. Who knows where else they can go?
Zach Wilson's also part of kind of this, I don't want to call it a new wave of quarterbacks, but mechanically, he's doing what a lot of high school and college quarterbacks are taught to do now, which is like the Aaron Rodgers stuff. It's not the have your foundation and your base and throw everything on platform and in rhythm. He's got something where it's everything can be, kind of the flick of the wrist. It can be off your back foot. It can be the things we see Rodgers do a lot. And I remember there were a bunch of people who really, thought his tape was amazing. Coaches thought his tape was some of the best that they had ever seen. But the people who were detractors in the pre-draft process also said there is an issue when every throw is a trick shot. And even last week in watching that game, Mike, I felt like some of those throws he's trying to make, including the terrible interception, but even that deep completion he had down the right sideline where he's kind of fading away, it's like he's still throwing the ball in such a way that I go back to Robert Saleh last year when he said something along the lines of he's got to make the layups. Those were the concerns coming in. It was not, can he make every throw? He can. It's, can he make the basic throws consistently enough? And that's one thing I'm going to be just kind of monitoring here for as long as he's on the field.
Well, and then you saw some of those, and that's where the yips came in, right? So you've seen some of those where, he looks downfield, there's nothing there, check it down to the running back in the flat, and he's throwing 5 feet high or wide of him. Those are major issues, and that's why they wanted to kind of get him reset. There was a play against the Patriots where Devin McCourty dropped an interception, and he looks left and kind of comes back to the middle, and he's got absolutely no base to stand on, and that's why the throw itself was just horrendous. And that was like, I don't want to say that was like the play that made them bench him, but it was one of the plays that day. And they said, this is what needs to be corrected right here. Basic fundamental stuff. So he had some breakdowns this past week. He had some of those sensational plays, but he also had some mental and physical breakdowns last week. Let's see what he can do, particularly in the rain. I don't know that they're that upset that it's going to be raining tonight. Like, let's add a little bit of that, too. Let's see if he can overcome that. We'll see.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.